The Wagner Group's offensive in eastern Bakhmut has entered a tactical pause. It is unclear whether they're gathering force or relocating on the front. Ukrainian Eastern Grouping Forces spokesperson Rehi stated on March 9th that an increasing number of unspecified Russian airborne and mechanized forces have been deployed to the area. We're talking about Bakhmut. The arrival of increased numbers of Russian conventional forces might show that the Russian Ministry of Defense wants to dominate the Bakhmut offensive operation, pushing out Wagner forces. We are well familiar with the Russian Ministry of Defense Shoigu and Gerasimov versus Wagner Prigozhin. This beef goes way back, and I think Putin likes it that way. That means dogs are fighting with each other, they're not gonna attack the owner. As days go by in this war, this beef is escalating. And this might be the sign that Wagner is going to be pushed out of Bakhmut by Russian troops. My name is Artur Rehi, and I'll be bringing you news from Ukraine and news from all over the world. If you like the channel, subscribe to the channel and become a Patreon. Russia launched a massive missile attack against Ukrainian civilian electrical and water infrastructure. Last missile attack with this magnitude happened over a month ago, even more. That shows that Russia is running out of missiles, because after every attack the interval increases, meaning they're gathering missiles for the attack, but it takes longer and longer time because they cannot reproduce missiles. Or if they can, the tempo is extremely slow. Ukrainian Air Force said that Russia launched over 81 missiles of various sorts. They used almost all of the different types of missiles they have. Missiles were launched from aircraft and carriers from the Black Sea. Not aircraft carriers, but from aircraft and carriers, missile carriers. Ukrainian anti-air capabilities were able to shoot down 34 missiles, which means that a lot of the fired missiles connected to the targets or fell down somewhere. I mean, we're talking about Russian missiles. Even if you don't shoot them down, there's a very big possibility it will just fall down in the wrong place. They're not the most accurate missiles, but if you fire them in densely concentrated urban areas, it doesn't matter where it falls down, it is still going to do damage. Unfortunately, this attack did a lot of damage. Most of the damage has been repaired, but immediately after the attack, a few hours later even, half of Kiev was without electricity and warm water, and the whole city of Kharkiv was without electricity and warm water. Let's go back to the beef between Prigozhin and Russian Ministry of Defense. Prigozhin stated in his telegram, and I quote, "In order for me to stop asking for ammunition, I was disconnected from all special communication phones in all offices and divisions, and also blocked all passes to the departments responsible for making decisions." In the last video I reported that Prigozhin's footman was blocked access to the Russian Ministry of Defense headquarters, but now Prigozhin confirms that he himself has been put out of the link of communications. He cannot even get in contact with the Russian Ministry of Defense anymore. My friends, this beef is escalating fast. I remember covering this already in the summer. Yes, this started 2022 summer. Now, over half a year later, it is getting heated. Here's another take on it. Some of you suggested that Putin might be turning on Shoigu. This is how the Russian power structure works. Putin plays his dogs against each other. Prigozhin cannot attack the Ministry of Defense without some kind of an approval. If Putin wouldn't like Prigozhin attacking Shoigu and Gerasimov, Prigozhin would have been falling out of the window already, but he hasn't. So maybe Putin wants an agent like Prigozhin attacking Shoigu, so if things go really bad, all blame can be put on Shoigu. He is the highest commander of the Russian armed forces. But Putin doesn't want to do it directly. He doesn't interfere if dogs are fighting each other. He plays Prigozhin against Shoigu. He allows it to go as far as long as it benefits him, as long as they're fighting each other and the blame is put on Prigozhin, Shoigu or Gerasimov, as long as it is not put on Putin. That's the game he's playing. And I see the logic behind this. Good thinking, my friends. Now we're going to watch a video of Prigozhin ranting that the world and Ukraine has not seen the real Russian army yet. Maybe he's living in illusions, but still, get your popcorn. Let's watch some delusional Russian commanders. I gotta stop already, and I'm sorry. Prigozhin, being one of the most powerful men in Russia, money is not an issue anywhere he goes. I gotta wonder about his camera quality. Russian state unfortunately puts a lot of money in propaganda, a lot of money in production, and then we get videos like this. I'm sure he could find a great camera and light somewhere on the front lines. And I know some of you are saying, oh, it's on the front lines, you don't want to make any light. Believe me, they make fires, they don't care about stuff like that. It's the Russian army. They don't follow these rules that you shouldn't make light or sound because the enemy will see you. If it's cold, they make a fire. If they want to shoot, they would put on the light. So Mr. Prigozhin, please get a lighting guy and light your videos better so we can actually see something when we're eating the popcorn.
В университет Донецк. Пошел прогуляться по городу. Одел модный бронежилет с чехольчиком на яйца. Все-таки 8 марта, чтобы нарядным быть. Зашел, достопримечательности, место намоленное. Танк.
Yeah, this is probably a T-34. In every ex-Soviet country, Soviets put up these tanks everywhere because they had a ton of them, and when they get new tanks, they couldn't really use them because they were old, so they made monuments out of these. In Estonia a few months ago, this was removed because it's a symbol of rape, deportations and violence, and everyone who is living in an ex-Soviet country knows these monuments. I've seen it. They're everywhere, also in Ukraine.
Освобождал Украину от фашистов. Зашел на него посмотреть. А тут приходит сообщение. Нью-Йорк Таймс вопрос задает. Что появилась информация от генерала Череватова, что, по его мнению, Бахмут это последний рубеж ЧВК «Вагнер».
Yeah, there was a story from New York Times and about in all major media outlets, they reported on it that yes, Bakhmut might fall to Wagner forces, but it will be the last operational offensive they will do because they have depleted all of their capabilities to Bakhmut. And that is true. Wagner has beat themselves bloody on this wall. And it is not the Russian army, it is a private army. They don't have the resources of the Russian army, they really fully depend on Shoigu's mercy and Putin's mercy of getting ammunition, getting planes, tanks, artillery. I think New York Times is right. After Bakhmut, Wagner forces will be depleted for some time.
Especially for New York Times magazine from Bakhmut.
Okay, we're hearing Prigozhin speak English for the first time. I haven't heard this.
Exclusively from Evgeny Prigozhin и Александр Симонов. Значит, что касается ЧВК «Вагнер» последнего рубежа, это наши внутренние разборки, поэтому тихо, не шуметь.
Of course, I don't know Prigozhin, I don't know his mannerisms, but stating about the tempo of his speech and how he reacts to like explosions and stuff, I would say he's drunk again. I'm gonna say he's drunk, like in the last video. I think he's drunk a lot.
Сейчас пролетит, а то в ушах слышит. Вот. Вариантов может быть несколько. Вариант первый. И вправду это последний шаг ЧВК «Вагнер». Многие вещи вечно не живут. 300 спартанцев.
He puts Wagner next to 300 Spartans. Well, that's not a fair comparison. I would put Ukrainian forces in Bakhmut and compare them with 300 Spartans, holding back this huge Persian army with minor forces. This is Ukrainians in Bakhmut. Prigozhin sees it the other way around. And I find, honestly, I'm sorry if you want any kind of military analysis about this. This here is entertainment. This video, because he's drunk and he's rambling, but he's Prigozhin, so we're gonna watch it, so don't eat your popcorn too fast.
Три богатыря и так далее остаются в памяти народа. Так и с ЧВК «Вагнер» может случиться.
No, it's not gonna.
Другое дело, что этот рубеж мы достойно возьмем.
Oh my God, dignity.
Что будет после взятия Бахмута? Вам министр обороны сказал о том, что после взятия Бахмута у нас откроется оперативный простор. И в настоящий момент мир не сталкивался еще с российской армией хорошо.
I have to fix this sentence. Yes, we saw the well-trained Russian army in the first 3 months of war. Russia put everything they have in this war, and most of the best trained units were thrown away immediately and thrown away later also. Used as infantry. Without armor support, they were actually thrown away in Bakhmut also. Even Prigozhin believes Russian-owned propaganda that they haven't even started yet. This shows how propaganda is very dangerous because it works on both sides. You might fall victim into your own propaganda trap. I've seen Putin doing this in his speeches, quoting Russian capabilities that they don't have, because he thinks they do have them, because propaganda says they do have them. Western intelligence, American intelligence, knows more about the Russian capabilities than Prigozhin and Putin does. They use satellite imagery, which shows exactly what they have.
Подготовленный с теми подразделениями, которые еще не вступали в бой, имея все возможное современное вооружение.
This is a dream, a fantasy.
Идеально подготовленные, они ждут своего часа. Как раз того самого после открытия оперативного простора ЧВК «Вагнер» после Бахмута. Но это отдельная история. Тогда весь мир содрогнется. Есть второй вариант развития событий. Вы за демократию, а мы за справедливость. В России 140 миллионов человек, из которых половина за справедливость.
Half of them support justice. What do the other half support? I mean, Mr. Prigozhin just said now that out of 140 million, half of them support justice, being said that justice is against democracy. So the other half supports democracy. We're talking about 70 million people then that support democracy, Mr. Prigozhin. These are huge numbers. If Russia truly has 70 million people that support democracy, then Wagner is screwed and Russia is screwed. So Prigozhin has to change some facts here.
Если 70 миллионов человек, которые хотят справедливости, вдруг неожиданно придут и скажут, что мы хотим ЧВК «Вагнер», то вы получите 70-миллионную ЧВК «Вагнер».
Then you'll suddenly get a 70 million strong PMC Wagner. There has not been an army in the world ever that has the size of 70 million. And now a private army, small compared to the Russian army, which is small compared to the Soviet army, which was the largest. Private army leader talks about this. He's living in fantasies. He's drunk. And these videos get wilder and wilder. And it's weird seeing the most, I would say the second most powerful man in Russia behaving this way. Rambling about some fantasy future outcome. 70 million strong Wagner. Yeah, we can laugh about this. But if you truly analyze it, it shows a mindset of a person who don't want to accept the harsh reality. That Wagner is weakened strongly by Bakhmut, strongly by these offensive, and they are losing their support in the Russian Ministry of Defense and losing the support of Putin then. It's a very harsh reality for Prigozhin. If you take this video into pieces, I would love to see some psychologists analyze this.
Это тоже радует. Поэтому варианты могут быть различны. Теперь, коли уж до меня достучалось, вернее, коли на меня внимание обратило такое, как Нью-Йорк Таймс, не могу не обратиться к чреватому, к Залужному и, как обычно, к Владимиру Александровичу Зелинскому. Это наше традиционное обращение из Бахмута, поэтому, Владимир Александрович, приветствую вас. Я благодарен, что вы приняли решение о том, что все-таки будете работать в Бахмуте. Нам это приятно, и мы уже привыкли друг к другу, и поэтому, как говорится, приросли. Единственная просьба: стариков, детей забирайте. И сюда нормальные боеспособные подразделения. Только, пожалуйста, по-честному. Мы с вами честно откровенны, вы с нами честно откровенны. 67 580 человек с Запорожья, 21 тысячу с копейками с Красного Лимана. Я прошу, чтобы они все были здесь, и мы здесь будем с ними дальше работать.
He's just rambling. There's no cohesive story to this video. I mean, usually when these leaders make these videos, they have thought about what they will say. They have some very specific message, but he's just drunk and rambling, which says more than what these words say.
А там вы еще потом успеете развивать успех, там наступление, все остальное. Нам надо сейчас здесь с вами разобраться.
Oh, he's drunk.
Вот, собственно говоря, спасибо огромное. С вами были Евгений Prigozhin and Alexander Simonov, especially for New York Magazine. Goodbye, мои хорошие.
Alright, this was fun, and I hope Mr. Prigozhin continues to drink and deliver us these detailed analysis videos about the situation in Bakhmut. Prigozhin is now a military blogger, as you can see. Large-scale riots and protests have erupted in Georgia. Not Georgia, America, Georgia, south from Russia. You know, that Georgia that has two Russian separatist regions Ossetia and Abkhazia. The crowds are very angry at the controversial Russian-style law, which would class non-government and media groups that receive more than 20% from foreign funding as foreign agents. This is a very Russian law because they passed it in Russia. When government stated that they would try to push through this law, masses came to the street, protests became violent very fast, and the government caved in and subtracted the law. It didn't go through, but the protests didn't end. They gained momentum. On Wednesday evening, so yesterday evening, the protesters pulled down a metal wall that was put up to protect the parliament building. The crowds were ordered to disperse and there were many injured. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed his support for the Georgian people. There is a very big gap between the Georgian people and the Georgian government that has been ever since the Russo-Georgian War. Authorities said that 55 police members were hurt during the first night of the protests. As you can see from these videos, protesters were huge in numbers. They were carrying EU flags, Ukrainian flags and Georgian flags, and even American flags. So this is clear what the people want, what the people of the capital of Georgia want. They want EU. They want NATO, they want to be part of the free world. Russia took that away with the Russo-Georgian War. Now we have a video of mobilized from Kaliningrad Oblast, you know, the oblast in Europe, the small Russian enclave in Europe. These mobilized talking to their battalion commander. These mobilized talk about their conflicts with the local Donetsk People's Republic's militias who don't consider them even worthy of fighting next to them. There's so much infighting going on in the Russian armed forces.
В первом, во втором бою максимум. Ну и что, говорит, не вы первый, не вы последний.
На неделю ровно.
Все, сказали, вот как с этим? На мясо приехали. Или как донецкие бегут. Да, калининградские вперед идут.
Выводят на позиции наших пацанов при первом
бегут, убегают, наши не знаем, где отходят.
Калининграда, да, на мясо приехали.
Это их же слова. Вы как хотите. Я отсюда, говорит, выйду по-любому. Вот так вот.
Они сами разделяют. Они сами разделяют.
Getting out of here, what they say now is meaning I will leave the army, I will desert. Russian mobilized, these are mobilized troops, they're talking about deserting right now with their commander. I mean, this is how far things have gone.
Работали, я ему вопрос задал, он мне, раз-два, слушаю, у меня начинает резать слух. Я говорю, почему ты, говорю, разделяешь? Я всегда буду разделять. Вы это вы, мы это мы. Это твой дом, я говорю, нет, а это говорит, мой дом. Вот я вам просто расскажу, как это выглядит, когда ты забегаешь в этот, лично был, забегаешь туда под пулеметом огнем, потому что это их позиции, здесь уже ничего не переделать. Слава богу, пронесло, бам, тут же ВОК падает. Отсиделся, 8 сигарет выкурил, потому что руки трясутся, блядь. Потому что, да, я пускай мне там не 20 лет, но руки трясутся. Потому что очко играет у всех в любом возрасте от такой херни. И тут же тебе говорят, выходить надо, там, через несколько дней. Заберут, не заберут, что-то еще вдруг забирают. И выходишь ты под этой же херней. Они сидят наглым образом со всей техникой. Тепляки, херепляки. Что им стоит пройти?
But they, possibly Ukrainians, sit there shamelessly with all vehicles, thermal imaging. It is true. Ukrainian positions, not all of them, but most of them, try to have at least some kind of night vision or thermal imaging, because Russians tend to attack over fields with small infantry groups, not even hiding in, trenches or under trees or whatever. You just need one thermal or night vision capable device on a position overlooking a wide field. You can cover a huge area with it, and wherever these small groups are coming, drones are up in the air dropping bombs. The artillery has shot in their positions. They know exactly where to fire because they're fired there before. And they're talking about this. It's impossible to charge these Ukrainian positions because they have night vision and thermal imaging. And Russians have small infantry groups. They don't even use armor. It is meat, мясо in Russian. They're sending meat, biomass.
Так, вот там сидит 4 человека, что им стоит пройти, блядь, закидать нас гранатами и все.
Вы
сами как потом с этим жить будете?
Там забросают птичками, так сразу на подходе.
Когда за день, за неделю вы положите просто, роту всю.
Предложения какие?
Вы в тероборону, как вы должны были быть в теробороне. Вот это давайте добивать. Есть там, где уже, допустим, мы прошли, мы заняли теробороне, а вот тут, блин, ничего. Вот здесь поселок отбит, Все, ребята, здесь можно.
Мы встали
Сели,
там.
блядь, окопались, покопали, ну это все не проблема. Как мы должны были садиться тероборонщики?
Ну, 11-й полк лежит, пацаны еще
Окопаемся,
не вытащили.
сели и
Как
будем
сколько?
сидеть. Если будет прорыв, нет прорыва, прошли дальше.
This goes on for 3 more minutes and I'm gonna end it here, but it's weird to see mobilized troops talking to a battalion leader. Imagine this in a NATO force. They're arguing how to conduct offensive operations, not taking orders, but actually arguing back, like, we shouldn't be doing this, we can't be doing this. And they're right. Russian army shouldn't be doing this. It's not humane, and it's even tactically and strategically just bad. It's just being bad at war. My friends, I will now read you 5 Patreon names who are tier 10 and above and who are supporting this channel. If you like my channel, consider becoming a patron. Links in the description below. None, Reid Akted, Laura Davis, David Flitcroft, Kari Dillon. Thank you to these 5 people. I could butcher your name. Become a patron. And if you like my channel, subscribe to it. And until my next video, my friends, Slava Ukraini.